Well, first of all, happy Monday to everyone. It is the last Monday in September. And let me just say that we are getting geared up for our last full month of prep before regionals start, starting with Peach County on November 1st, and then moving on to UVA-wise November 8th, and then Nashville, Murfreesboro, November 15th. And then, of course, Boston on December 6th. So a lot of good work, a lot of hard work has transpired getting ready for all these events. So, and that's credit to all of our regional coordinators, our organizers, for just stepping up to the plate, and I appreciate that. But what I wanted to go over with everyone, and I think I've kind of at this point, it's almost like beating a dead horse, right? We've talked about it extensively, but I think it's worth having an appropriate plan. What I will do is a week prior to the event, we'll send out a run a show, which will include load in and setup, right? So our goal is to try to get in the gym. I'll if your school would let me set up at 9 o'clock on Friday morning, man, I would be all over it. That's usually the way we set up for, excuse me, nationals. Anyways, we start early on Friday morning setting up. But of course, that event, there's a lot more going on there as far as, you got junior, you got senior, you got all this AV, you got all these VIP stuff set up. Plus, you have your sponsors. This coming nationals will have the U.S. Army there with their big trailer and all kinds of other fun stuff. So it's going to be a lot more intensive. So, having a full day for setup is a necessity. You, on the other hand, with our RDLs, we appreciate the in-kind gifts of space. So you're not going to hear us complain a whole lot, right? We're just grateful to be able to get in there, if possible, to get in there at 3 o'clock on Friday or thereabouts, because we do understand from time to time that, maybe basketball practice is going on. If you could sweet talk the coach or the principal or the AP, whoever's in charge of that schedule, give them some cookies or something, maybe they'll let us in there as early as possible. We have had some incidences before where it was not coordinated. We thought it was, but it was not, and we didn't get into set up till like after 6, and that was pretty miserable because we didn't get out till about midnight. And when you come back in at 7 o'clock in the morning, everybody was a little grumpy, right? So we want to try to get set up as safely as possible, but just as soon as we can get in, and then so that would primarily uh, be directed towards Heather and Julie as far as being able to get us access as early as possible.
I think we're at
Um,
least at 3 at this point at UVA wise, but we potentially could go a little earlier. I've got to meet with Chris to make sure we
okay,
get your walkthrough in the next couple
okay.
weeks.
Yeah, the earlier we can know, the better, just for logistics planning, because we got a truck driver this year, and so we're paying him, and what he's been told is exactly, that target time frame. But if we can get him in early and we can make it, it might not work that, because he has another job too, but hopefully he can make it work. If you give us access at 12 and we don't show up till 3, I just want to make sure we communicate that back to you that, hey, we're not going to be there till 3 anyway. So, we don't want you killing yourself. But anyway, if there's a chance, great, because there is a lot to do, which brings me into one of our first jobs that Ian and his crew are going to do is they're going to set up the mats on the floor, and they're also going to run AV wiring. They're going to run any kind of wiring for command and control of the field first to make sure we get all that. That's some of the most probably the more mission critical of all the components to make sure everything's working on the RDL field. Um, Simultaneous to that, we'll set up safety zones. So what I would ask of our regional organizers and myself is to make sure that we're being good supervisors. And sometimes um, we don't need too many chiefs in the kitchen, right? We need just one chief. So if you or your designee want to be the supervisor, working with our truck driver slash field setup slash Ian Cruz, who is not the truck driver, by the way, just but Ian will be our head referee, and so Ian will have very technical expertise when it comes to setting up the field. So he will be in charge of making sure that this game element is so many centimeters away from the starting position, because we want to make sure that that's accurate as possible and within what the challenge guide reads, right? Because he's the systems expert on that. Um, Wiring management. So if you have some volunteers that are really good at being anal when it comes to wiring management, please send them our way, because we want to make sure that, again, safety is required. We'll have some gaffers tape. We want to make sure that we tape all of our wires down to where there's no trip hazards. And then also for safety too. But we don't want to, let's just say if you got a brand new finish on that pretty gym floor and you don't want any tape on it, please let us know. That gaffer's tape really doesn't mess anything up. But just know that it's not duct tape. We don't want to put duct tape on a pretty gym floor, right? And it'll adhere. Gaffer's tape's what they use in any kind of professional AV production. So, if it's a carpeted field or a carpeted floor space, that works too.
That was kind of my next question. We have the option for I guess a kind of they have a vinyl covering that they put down, but they also have a carpeted covering in the floor, and it's a nicer look to have the carpet squares they put down. Would that be okay? I know in the old gym we were in just a regular gym floor, not a big deal, but in the convocation center we're going to be in this year, we have some options about what the floor. They won't do bare floor for any event like that. So we'll have some covering. Does it need to be like the vinyl kind of the tarp type, floor?
Yeah, I would say that, because kids are kids and they got the grape slushy, and if they spill it, I don't want to damage any carpet. Um, and I know that not last year, but the year before, they had a lithium battery catch on fire and it burned part of the vinyl part, which we paid for. It was $200, right? So either way, I don't, I'll let you make the decision. Sometimes I worry about food, but getting stained on carpet. But if you're not worried about it, I'm not worried about it. But if it's the only thing I don't like about that vinyl that they put down at the old gym at ETSU was it was in like 3-foot sections. And so it became a trip hazard all on its own. And I didn't.
Yeah, this one's they roll it across, and so sometimes they'll put the vinyl down below the carpet just for an extra barrier if fluids are going to be used. The space is used for a dental clinic part of the year, so that is gross, I know, but they use it for a lot of things. So I was just wondering if there was any reason. The carpet is that real thin. It's the real thin carpet square stuff. It's really a good surface, but I was just trying to think if there was any reason with the robots or anything, because we have the mats that you all put down under the field, so that shouldn't matter.
Right.
I'm just trying to think if there's any reason for us not using the carpet.
Well, we'll have a practice area. The only thing the big watch out for the teams, if they're running their robots on carpet, is the buildup of static electricity, could damage. If they're running Arduinos or Raspberry Pis or any kind of control systems, the static electricity will certainly damage it. So
we have some hallway areas that are concrete that we could just designate those as
all right
as practice areas, and we have the concourses above. So
yeah, and what I would, and when we get closer to the event and we put out our pre-event announcements and guidelines, about food and practice areas, we'll warn the kids, hey, don't run your robots in your pit area. You're not supposed to do that anyway. But if they do, and then they damage their own Arduinos because they ran them in the carpet, and built up some ESD, then we warned them, right? But every time, every event I go to, kids are just determined to fly their drones and run their robots in the pits,
Yep.
and they won't go to the practice area. So we have to constantly get on to them. But we'll continue to get on to them, right? But yeah, and if the practice areas are carpeted, I mean, concrete, then perfect. Perfect.
And then I've also booked AV, so you won't need AV for like main announcements because we'll have a screen and AV already set up with a small stage
Right.
in between the playing fields, so
Okay.
facing the audience. So you will. The only thing I could see as far as AV needing, and I could probably get them to set this up too. That would save you all from having to bring it too. Is having a designated AV for each playing field as for the commentary.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can I'll put that in my request and see what they can do
Right.
for that. Maybe that would save you all bringing speakers and all that.
Yeah, and worst case, we always use our karaoke machine for the junior field, which serves its purpose. But yeah, anything that I think there was some other place that had the AV set up too. Was it Julie's place? No, Murfreesboro maybe. Anyway, yeah, that would be appreciated, Heather. Thank you. Um, the I did ask Jonathan. Jonathan did some review of our game announcer. See, Julie says we had one, but we used ours. Okay. So either way, but typically it's not too bad to load it. It's just, saves us an extra 30 minutes, an hour to set it up. So
You can't hear. I mean, if that facility is such that she has to set sound. So if you're sitting in the bleachers or you're sitting on the floor, you have different levels you have to hit because you can't hear. You'll hear one or
right.
the other. We'll hear them both.
That's true.
Unless you're using the house sound.
Okay. Yep. Then I'll definitely go with your advice and we'll just use house sound. Um, All right, cool. So safety zones, wire management, load in and load out. Again, supervision. I'm going to ask my organizers. You guys know the lay of the land better than most, and it's your house, right? So we want you guys to be in the mix with the supervision to make sure all the kids are safe because we need their help in loading and loading out, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they're not little kids, and because there is a lot of metal, we don't want any damaged fingers. And not that we need a surgeon on staff or anything, but if you have somebody and not necessarily there for setup, but during the event itself, that's a medical personnel. It's always good to have. I feel more comfortable, and this goes all the way back to Lego League, when we had a young lady fall in the bathroom. Uh, I mean, right as the event was starting. I mean, hour one. And fortunate that we had a dad that was actually one of our mate coaches that was in the stands, and he was a doctor. And so they had to call the ambulance and all that stuff because she hurt herself pretty good. But again, fortunate that medical personnel was there. I've been at events where we did not have medical people. We had people that thought they were medical people, but they're not. Yeah, they claimed to, they stayed at a Holiday Inn or something. And so we want to make sure that if you've got anybody in your volunteer cohort or your friends of friends, whatever, please.
Yes.
And yes.
One question about that. I mean, I know we want to try to make sure that those people are adults,
Yeah.
but if we have nursing students that are in clinicals, would they be considered someone who could man a table for safety?
Yeah, I would say yes. As far as manning the table for safety, um, you know, my wife, Wendy, she has the EMT program at her school. And I think it would be up to the school to decide, what exactly can they do. Um, I know at her school, which is high school, so they're minors, so it's a little bit different, right? If you've got adult nursing students, that can put a Band-Aid on there.
Mm-hmm.
But
So if
at
they
her,
did like
yeah,
anything
at,
that would
yeah,
fall.
yeah, at her school, they're allowed to do is do blood pressure checks, and they can't even read the results to you. Which is probably a good thing in my situation. Um, um, and they walk around with a stethoscope, but they're not allowed to say the word stethoscope, right? Um, but yes, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes when you have, somebody, a nursing student in scrubs with a stethoscope, everybody's a little bit extra careful, right? So, um, and I would say the same thing for crowd control. If you have, they don't necessarily need to be a SWAT team member or anything like that, but just if you have campus police, they always come around, and I know at ETSU they bring Pepper the dog, and the kids love all that kind of good stuff. It's
Our
just
guys
good.
like to come watch because they just think
Yeah,
it's cool. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And bring them in, and matter of fact, if they want to stay the day, we'll feed them a Chick-fil-A sandwich, right? Um, and I think, for emergency procedures on that note, I know this is not fun stuff to talk about, but in the event, we probably need to make sure that all of our volunteers and staff members know where all our emergency exits are, what to do for any kind of situation, fire, tornado, flash flood, which all this stuff actually happens in all the places where we have our events. God forbid anything like mass shooting or anything like that, but we still need to be prepared for it and talk about it, because in today's world, nothing surprises me anymore. And so, just want to be extra vigilant with all of it because we do have kids in there, and in some cases, hundreds of kids. So we definitely need to be vigilant and prepared. Uh, Robot and drone safety checks. So part of Ian's job, once we get the field set up, we'll bring in, and this is something a couple volunteers could probably handle too, is if they're familiar with the robot and drone safety checks in our challenge manual and can go through a safety checklist, and Ian approves them to do that. And it's really helps too if there are going to be officials on Saturday, is to set up a table for just that safety checks, because we want to. It's a good chance to meet the kids. It's a good chance for our officials to meet the kids and see what the robots and drones are all about, and just and to actually physically inspect the robots and drones to make sure there's the big uh, the big uh, precautions are the prop guards on the drones, and then of course sharp edges on the robots themselves. We don't want our volunteers getting hurt. Ian's going to be on the interior of the field, running all day, and we don't want him to try to reach down and that robot has a flamethrower on it or a chainsaw or something like that. So we need to make sure that everything is safety. And we will not allow the kids to get on the field or to practice any kind of autonomous or teleop anything until they've gone through safety. So we need to iterate that to all the coaches, because the first thing those kids want to do, and we'll have some that we'll set up on Friday night, and they'll want to set up their pits, but we will not allow them to do anything robot or drone wise until they've gone through safety. And again, if we're setting up at 3, then we are hopeful to at least have the field open by 6, at least for autonomous measurements. Maybe not robot and drone operations, but at least autonomous measurements, because our goal is to be out of there by 7. And that's a 4-hour setup. So again, if we sneak in there at 2, great. If not, we'll do the best we can. Um, Crowd control, I think we talked about, if you got a police officer, it's always good to have a volunteer, if you can put a volunteer shirt on them, and you know, just to be vigilant, help people, especially our spectators and parents. Where do they need to go? They don't need to be standing up behind the driver station. And generally they don't need to be in the pits with their lawn chairs. Every year we have family that come in and they want to set up camp, And so with all the activity, especially at our bigger events, the pit area is a really congested area, so we don't want spectators in there. So that's always a good place. Not really the police officer's job is to go man the spectator area. It's more safety related. So if you have a safety slash security personnel, type person, that's always a good role that we don't generally talk about because we have so many other primary critical roles that we have to fulfill that you're recruiting for, like your judges and your officials. That sometimes the security people go by the wayside. Again, I think I mentioned Jonathan was unable to attend our event at UVA Wise, but I think Eric Heller, we might be able to get Eric there, so that'll be a good warm up for him. But again, I think it's important always to have a backup or a secondary or maybe even a tertiary person, that can come in and learn. Eric's a brand new daddy, so he, yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't want to be 1 minute away from that little baby girl. So, and I understand that, and
Just tell
so
her to bring her, and I'll wear her around like a baby Bjorn. That's what I usually tell all these cute babies. I'll just wear them.
that's right. That's exactly right. Um, Let me check my list just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Like I said, today is going to be a short day. This will be our last meeting of our organizers and our regional coordinators. Leading small volunteer teams, morale management, and conflict resolution is what I had on our agenda. Conflict resolution, yeah, common sense prevails, right? We're all adults, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, we don't act like adults. So all I ask is that we take it away from the kids. We have those discussions. Those are important. I've always had, in every event I've ever been at, I've always had to have a discussion with a coach somewhere, maybe in a hallway, maybe in a classroom, away from the kids. And that's okay. If you want me to handle it, please bring them to me, and we'll go have a talk. And we might not resolve it there. It might be on the phone the next day, which I'm open to as well. And I'll tell them that, like, hey, this is not the place. I understand your frustrations, and I'm not saying that you're goofy or anything like that. I'm saying maybe you have a substantial gripe, but let's take this, let's table this for tomorrow if that's cool with you, or Monday. I had on here mini mock event simulation with Q&A and final review, but I think that's I want to reserve that for our officials training, which will take place next month. And basically what we'll do is, with our officials, and our judges are invited to come in as well, and we'll record that session just like we do with all of them. But I want to make sure that we go through the animation and then some of our props, which Ian has been working really hard on there at Streamworks at the STEM Gym. And we want to take those and go through those one by one and explain the task and correlate that to the scoring card, and how that works, how that's going to transfer, kind of like a slow walkthrough, if you will. Also, we'll probably talk with the judges, which we'll record that as well, on how a mock interview might look in front of a student panel, and some of the Q&A, some of the questions that might come up, or just some good, icebreakers, and maybe follow-up questions. And if you're trying to really, if you've got 2 or 3 teams that are right there neck and neck on the scoring rubrics, how do you differentiate between the two? How do you come up with who the final one is? All sort of playing rock paper scissors, right? So because it is hard, sometimes it's hard to decide. So we'll have that discussion, and hopefully it'll be helpful. Heather, Julie, have I missed anything? Ian, uh, everyone, please feel free to. Who else do we have online? I think we have Kamal. Uh, did he go by Kamal or Raj? I forget.
It's Kamal.
I go by Kamal. Yeah.
Oh, hey, Kamal. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Doing well for a Monday. And Julie's pointing.
Cameron's also here.
Oh, Cameron. Oh, Cameron. How are you, man?
Good.
I didn't. Julie was pointing down at the screen at you like this was Yeah, this is Hollywood Squares.
Well, she had a question in the chat there
Oh,
about
did she? Okay. Yeah, let me
about
see what
yeah.
I had pit crews in the gym with us last year. You think I should do separate? I did not think it was too much, but your thought. And what do we mean by pit crews? Is it like the kids on their teams? Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole design of the pits is to have pit crews there, right?
Well, but she's saying it's in there in the gym all together. So like,
Oh,
like we
yeah,
did at
yeah,
Ross, we had them all together, and for
yeah,
us it was real tight last year.
yeah,
That's why we're moving to the bigger facility.
yeah.
We're going to keep ours together in one room for mainly for just supervision, so
Yeah.
that we can kind of keep an eye on everybody. But I understand because last year we were really tight in our gym that we were in last year with the pits being in where the play, but we had no other option really to go anywhere last year. But this year we got a bigger space. But yeah, I don't know.
Julie, I think this year you're okay. I think we're going to approach maybe the 10 team uh, for your event. So I think we're still manageable to have it in one section inside the gym. But like in Heather's event, there's no way that we could have the pits and the field in that same space. If it were like in your gym, right? But in where she's going, last year, because we had junior and senior and all the pits in a small gym that was smaller than your gym, Julie, it was it was pretty congested. And so, and this year we got double the amount of kids that are going to be participating.
We probably got triple the space. So
Right. Yeah, it's huge. The convocation center is huge. It's like going to one of those mega churches in Texas. Yeah, it's one of those big ones. Um, and I made signs last year for each table. Can I get the list closer to the thing? Yes. Cindy actually is working on a list of all the regionals and what the teams that are registered and their team number. So what we like to do is we have a template. I mean, you're welcome to use that. We just put our logo on there. You might want to add your sponsors to that. Maybe that's an idea that a selling feature for you to be able to generate sponsors for your event and say, hey, we'll put your logo on each team table. So hopefully that maybe is incentive for them to help sponsor you. We just ask that the RDL, the team number, and then the team location. Yes, we do need more teams. I think I got one for you today. I got to call him here in a little bit. Julie, got one here in Georgia, in Atlanta, that reached out to me. So we're working hard. Sometimes it takes time. The UVA Wise event has taken essentially 8 years to get to where it is. So it takes a little bit. It does. But we're super grateful and thankful for each and every one of these teams, that commit to coming to any event. So we want to, no matter if it's big or small, just like Georgia, win or lose. Yeah, don't say anything, Heather. I don't want to hear it.
we had to play band next week, so it's probably going to be a
Vandy.
we got Vandy. I'm still not over last year.
Yeah, just the thought of Vandy being ranked is amazing. So, but anyway, all right. Separate but related topic. Do we have any sign up teachers for October 17th at Museum of Aviation RDL Junior? Currently, I believe we have 3, which is not a big number, but it's okay. It's still going to be fun. I'm committed to being there. Talk to Whitney. She's excited about it. Obviously, First Lego League and some others, they have a grip hold on the area. And so nobody else should be able to do any kind of other robotics but that, right? And so, but Whitney's been just been a lot of just a bright ray of sunshine, and she loves Julie. And by the way, Julie, Julie got Teacher of the Year. I don't know if anybody knew that, but she's so humble she doesn't talk about it. But just having the Museum of Aviation October 17th for that workshop, I think is going to be important. I've also offered to give Whitney a part of that grant that we have so that she can get the robot and drone herself for RDL Junior. That way she'll have it on site to be able to show people, show teachers, and show the kids that are coming through that museum exactly what RDL Junior is. And she'll have an RVR and a for the wind hopper drone to be able to demonstrate, along with the curriculum. You know, that if you look at the curriculum for both the Sphero and the hopper, I mean, we're talking weeks and weeks and weeks of activity. Let's see. They are setting up a table at our event. So is ROTC. Oh, very good. Very, very cool. Yeah. And, God bless them. The Museum of Aviation there at Warner Robins is the second largest Air Force museum in the United States, second to only Wright-Patterson in Ohio, which, that's big stuff. And if you ever get a chance it's really convenient to get to. I know a lot of our friends like Heather, from Virginia and elsewhere, rarely get down to Georgia, but if you're headed to Florida on I-75, you're right there at it. It's right there, just right across the highway there near Warner Robins Air. Well, it's actually at Warner Robins Air Force Base, and it's near Byron, up in Julie's neck of the woods. And there's a Buc-ee's right there too, so all good. um, and that's awesome that you're having the ROTC there, Julie, because had a pretty lengthy conversation with those guys at ETSU. So we're looking at having the Army, the big mobile trailer at Nationals in March of next year. So they're excited that, ROTC, JROTC National is involved with us in this effort. So we were happy to learn that we did get the contract with the Army JROTC last Friday. I was on my way to Athens, so good news there, huh? The whole weekend wasn't totally ruined by Alabama, but we're super excited that that's primarily for our Boston event, which is the Second Brigade. Automatically, they'll have 10 teams set up for that event. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be busy. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be flying folks in. If you want to go to Boston, I wish I could pay for you to be there. But if you want to go to Boston, and I will feed you a Chick-fil-A sandwich for sure. But man, we sure could use some help. LSU go to. Oh, what? I thought you were a Bulldog fan. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, man. I got all this SEC enemies amongst the RDL personnel. Yeah, they got Heather, who's a Virginia, but she's a Bama fan. Which, man, could you believe that UVA beat Florida State? Oh my gosh, who saw that one happen?
Best thing that happened all weekend, besides UVA Wise finally winning a game this year. So, it was anything could happen weekend because
I know it sure did. Yeah. Your Roll Tide beat my dogs, and
yep, anything can happen weekend.
Man, what a game! Florida State. Oh my gosh, man, that was a game. Good game. And then LSU. What happened there? And oh man, I tell you, Ole Miss. I'm not. I'm taking my wife to go see that game. That's her birthday present. Everybody says, "Oh my gosh, you must be loaded if you can go to all these games because it is not cheap." However, our son lives in Athens, so we're pretty cheap. He's a federal forester, so the federal office for Georgia Forestry is in Athens, and so he's a UGA grad. Anyway, that is just about all I have. I just wanted to open it up for discussion, make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll keep the recording going just for a couple moments if there's any Q&A. Again, I think it's important to mention that we will have our training. So hopefully our regional organizers, Mark's not on the line, or neither is Deb, but we reached out to make sure that you guys were all syncing up to get your volunteers, especially your critical volunteers that are going to be where there's be a little bit of training involved, right? Ian is getting ready to take his head referee test, and it's open book. So, um, let's see, going to LSU, South Carolina in 2 weeks, Baton Rouge. Well, I hope you guys beat South Carolina because ever since the Spurrier days, couldn't stand it. But the your head judge and your referees do a little bit of training. We'll do some simulation. There will be an open book test. It's not meant to be a stump the chump test. It's meant to help them take the challenge guide and find the answers so that they're comfortable with it. And like I've told Ian before, it's not really important to me that you are a walking RDL moon base encyclopedia. What matters to me, the two most important parts of that, and I would say this for any referee and judge to that point too, is to be comfortable with the process and to be confident in your answers. And hey, know that you do not have to know the answer. You just need to know where to go get the answer, right? In the challenge guide. And also in developing that confidence, that's why we want you to take that test, is because you're going to be questioned. And we want you to be confident in that. Not only are the kids going to question you, there might be some coaches that question, right? And then again, we want you to be able to be confident in answering that as the first stop, because what I'm going to do if I get involved is I'm going to say, did you talk to the head referee? And what did he say? And very rarely will I go back and overrule or veto anything that they say. Because I want to make sure that if I did my job right on the front end and train my head referee and my head judges, then I shouldn't have any problems, right? And their word is gold to me. Um, but on the rare occasion, there might be a little bit of common sense comes into play, and we maybe something that we didn't think about or consider, and we had to go back and change it at the last minute, right? So I don't want to be so rigid that we're not flexible, because these are difficult events to produce, but whatever's fair to the kids at the end of the day is my overall goal, right? And so I'm not trying to be fair to the head coach. I'm not trying to be fair to the bottom line at the RDL financials or anything like that. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right job for the kids. But hopefully our organizers have decided on their final lineup. So I'll be hitting you guys up for that here in a few days. Be on the lookout for our newsletter coming out October 1st here in 2 days. A lot of really good information in there, specifically on rules, scoring rubrics, good information. I'll mention this too. The FAA Drone Youth Initiative has a broadcast, I think a webinar on Wednesday. I want to say it's at 4 p.m. More information on our newsletter about that. You'll see that. So if you and your kids want to tie in with that, that's great. The FAA Drone Youth Initiative is just a really our friend Diana Robinson, who will be at Murfreesboro and is tentative on the Nationals in March. She recently retired from the FAA, so she's been one of our fans and one of our big champions for Robot Drone League. She has accepted a consultancy job with NCAT, which are another set of friends for us. Part of our grants that we get to go to AUVSI every year through the NCAT, the National Center for Autonomous Technologies. They help sponsor us. So that's good news for us because Miss Diana Robinson is going to be there and she's going to be helping out with that event in Murfreesboro. But again, the Drone Youth Initiative was her baby, and she helped design it, and now they're carrying that on. It's just to educate our K through 12 population on drone technology, and it's the future, both in all kinds of different aspects. Commercial. Bye, Julie. Thank you for your time. We're wrapping it up. We'll see you next time, okay? She's slouching down. Is it nap time? I feel like I'm ready for a nap myself. It's cloudy here in Georgia. And so the weather is actually cooling down. I hope it stays cool. All right, Heather, Kamal, Ian, questions? No?
I think
Okay,
we covered it. I think the
okay,
biggest thing I've got is I've got to nail down who all these officials are,
right.
and make